What it do is God Game, and I'm here with another Dragon Ball The Breakers video, and today we're going to talk about the recent patch that just dropped. I'm going to go through them with you guys, and I'm going to really explain how I feel about them after I go through them, but I might add a few notes here and there on how I feel. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Breakdown of adjustments. Multiple battle parameters were adjusted to decrease the odds of the raider being defeated. Several adjustments were made to make fighting during defense phase easier in order to prevent the raider from being able to react and subsequently losing a match when being surrounded by and fighting against multiple survivors, which I thought was the point, but whatever. Change the time in various systems in order to adjust the rate at which each match progresses, since the survivor's speed increases while they level up during a match. Next, we have an adjustment to Raiders' close range attacks. The Raiders' rush damage has been adjusted to be roughly equal at each level. Instead of concentrating the damage value in the final stage, the Raiders' rush damage has been adjusted so that the damage value from each attack increases starting from the first attack. I feel like that's kind of crazy, because what's the point of the levels? But whatever, let's get straight. The Raiders' rush will be cancelled by attacks and skills used by survivors. This will involve adjustments starting with increasing the number of cases that appear after the early part of the match. Adjustment of Raiders Ki Blast. This is what I have a problem with the most, probably. Made it easier to hit targets with Ki Blast after Evolution Level 2. The damage was also adjusted in accordance with different attacks damage, efficiency, and characteristics. Now that second part is fine, but I feel like it was already easy to hit with the Ki Blast because you can just spam it. And now you're getting hit from across the map. Even if you're snatching away on your grappling hook or driving away, whatever the case may be, you're still getting hit across the map. And I feel like that's just too much. They adjusted different Raiders super attacks. We don't really have to go over that. But I feel like one thing I can say about them adjusting the different Raiders super attacks, Frieza did not need a buff. In no way, shape, or form. And I feel like he got an accidental buff because of all of these adjustments. So now we're here. Frieza is OD. Frieza was already pretty strong, but because of these like different super attack adjustments and stuff like that, just the different adjustments they made to Raiders as a whole has made Frieza damn near intolerable. He was already the best Raider in game. Don't get me wrong. He was already the best Raider in game. But now it's like if you see Frieza on that screen when you're loading in, you might as well chalk it up. You might as well chalk it up. You lost that game. It's that simple. The only move that Frieza got buffed that I will say might have needed a buff was the Death Slash. The Death Slash didn't feel as powerful as it should have been, seeing as though he was level 4. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the Death Slash. Sales buffs, booze buffs are, whatever. I feel like they could have been stronger because they wasn't as strong as Frieza, but other than that, I feel like he didn't need a buff at all. Next is increase the movement speed bonus that occurs when a survivor is in the middle of the screen while the raider is locked onto them. I'm fine with that. I feel like the Raiders flew too slow anyway. I feel like the survivors fly too slow as well when in their change. So I'm fine with the speed buff, but I also feel like survivors need to fly faster as well when they're changed. When a Raider is already receiving a close range attack, reduce the damage taken by the Raider if another survivor with the low change level attacks them. Now, that is going to cause a lot of problems. Not from the Raiders, but from the survivors. Because now that this is the case, survivors are already scared to attack when they were at a lower level. This is going to make them even more scared, so you're going to end up fighting the Raider 1v1 a lot if your whole team isn't matching the level, because survivors are not even going to try to get in there. So that I want people spamming Charming Pose and Solar Flare, but at the same time, those moves don't work as intended all the time. Sometimes you'll do it and it doesn't even work if they're already throwing a move at you or a Ki Blast at you. The Raider powers straight through it. So now you're just stuck in place doing the animation and then you get popped. So they should lower the cooldown time or increase the range or just make them work as intended. We need balance. That's all I'm asking for is balance. I don't want it to be easy if I'm a survivor main, because then why would the game be fun? I did feel like the game was getting too easy, but I feel like that's another problem rather than buffs and nerfs that I'll get into later. Other adjustments to the survivors: increase the amount of change power needed for change level 3, nerf. That is a crazy nerf. It already took forever, and you have to find power cubes. And if you're not finding any power cubes, you're already stuck at level 1 or 2. So I feel like that was an unnecessary change. Hard nerf: decrease the amount that the survivor's attack power will multiply when they reach ultimate dragon change level 4. That is a hard nerf. Another hard nerf. I don't agree with that. What's the point of going level 4 if you're not going to be doing crazy damage? Another change that I feel like was just unnecessary. So we're going to get into the final adjustments that they made, and these are adjustments that really like affect survivors the most. I feel like these are adjustments that I may have a problem with the most. So let's get straight into it. Increase the amount of time needed to install a power key. Decrease the default speed at which the startup system gauge fills up. Decrease the speed bonus for the startup system gauge. Increase the speed at which the startup system's destruction gauge fills up. Decrease the rate at which the startup system's destruction gauge lowers over time. That's pretty much it as far as the patches go. But those last few changes I read are the changes that are affecting this game the most. Now, it's been a while since this patch came out, a few days, and I've played with it a bit, and I've got a feel of all the changes in game instead of reading the patch and just taking it for face value and being outraged like I feel like a lot of people were. And honestly, does the game feel unbalanced? Yes. But also, that's kind of the nature of these games. Raiders are supposed to be stronger than a survivor, but I feel like they made a few unnecessary buffs, a few accidental buffs, and a lot of unnecessary. Like with the key thing, you being able to come back to the key and then not digressing back to the big fan. But with them slowing down how long it takes for the key to finish, they kind of like made that other change null and void because it takes forever. It takes entirely too long, even if you're working with a team, which is pretty unlikely because if you're random queuing, your team is across the map doing gods for Dragon Balls, doing everything in their power so they can save themselves instead of working as a team. So now you're spending a minute trying to fight this key, trying to get all of you guys out of there, and you're just wasting that time for yourself because now you're still level 1 charge and the Raider's pulling up at level 3. I feel like the Raider gets to his level 3 and 4 way too fast now. They nerfed how long it takes for you to get to level 3, but the Raider still gets there at a breakneck speed, and that's kind of not fair, honestly. But it's not undoable. The things they did with the escape time machine are atrocious. They can revert that back. The escape time machine was never too fast. It was never the problem. That final fight or that final bout or what have you, that in-game bout that you have around the final time machine never felt too quick. It always felt pretty long. It's always you on it. Then you gotta fight the Raider. Then the Raider gets on it. Then you gotta find a way to get the Raider off it. It was pretty intense at all times. So they didn't have to change that at all. And I don't really understand why they did. But I do feel like it's bearable. I don't feel like you can't win against the Raider. Just your chances of winning are very, very low now. But I don't feel like you can't win. I feel like with a few more hours with this new patch, a few more days of getting to know how the Raiders work, you will start to see a better win percentage as far as the survivors go, like it was. But I do feel like the survivors were winning too much, and I feel like that was more of a problem with not being able to lock in as Raider, but you can lock in as survivor. The skill gap was too large. It wasn't the buffs or the nerfs. The skill gap was just too large in between Raiders and survivors. The key blast spam was already heavy, but now they can get this key blast spam and snipe you from across the map, especially if you're Frieza. And Frieza can snipe you from across the map and finish you off from across the map. He doesn't even have to fly to you. And that's a little bit too OD. Like, Frieza was already OD as is, but now they made him a bit too OD. So I feel like it is bearable, but I feel like with these buffs and nerfs, survivors definitely need some buffs. No more nerfs. Survivor's been getting nerfed since the game's release. Since before the game's release. Survivor's been getting nerfed since the beta. And ever since, it's just been nerf on nerf on nerf for survivors and buff for raiders. I feel like a few nerfs were necessary, but buffs are definitely necessary as far as survivors go. Their base movement speed can be faster. Their attacks can be their melee attack can be a bit more potent. Their flight speed can be a bit faster. Like, it's a few things that the survivors need. Some of the skills even can get a buff. Like Vegeta's Sand Pod is basically unusable, and that's going to get people using more and more meta. That's why you see so much bomber bike and things of that nature, because you need something to survive. It's so hard to survive. The Raider flies way faster now, can hit you from way further, and you run like a snail or you fly like a snail. So it's really hard to escape. And I'm not saying it should be easy, but I don't think survivors need any more nerfs. I don't think raiders need any more buffs. I think raiders are fine where they are. Keep them where they are. Give survivor a few small changes, and the game can be back balanced, or at least as balanced as a game like this should be. That's really all my thoughts I have for this. Comment below how you feel about it. If you think it's fine where it is, if you think survivors need a buff, or raiders even need a bigger buff, or raiders need a nerf. I don't know how you feel. Let me know below. Leave a like if you can. Thanks for watching if you stayed around this long, and I'll see you in the next one.
Welcome. Thank you. Welcome.
You're done! Not good. Someone is down. Can you help them? Your ally is knocked out. Can you save them? I'll send some supplies to help. Make good use of them. Not good. Someone is down. Can you help them? Holy hell. You're done! Come on! Here it comes! Holy hell! Oh man! Stay calm. Stay calm. Lucky little worm. Cocky little worm! impossible!